Okay, so first off, thank you so much for joining the Concordia University Wisconsin webinar on the Masters of Product Development program and those 3 concentrations. We're going to get started about talking about them. All right, so now I'm going to share my screen with you here so you can see. Give me 1 second. All right. So Concordia University Wisconsin has a Masters of Product Development program with 3 separate concentrations: the pharmaceutical, chemical, and our new food and beverage concentrations. We first have Dr. Scott Van Ornum. Scott, would you introduce yourself for just a minute?
Sure. Hello, everybody, and thank you for coming. My name is Scott Van Ornum. I've been at Concordia about 10 years now. I was a research chemist at Abbott Laboratories for about 4 years. After graduate school, I did my graduate work in organic chemistry at UW-Milwaukee. After that, I went to Abbott Labs for 4 years, where I worked on process chemistry, largely taking reactions at the bench scale, small scale, and then taking them out to large 2,000-gallon reactors or big commercial operations. And then followed that up with 8 years at Cedarburg Pharmaceuticals. That's a company just north of our campus in Grafton, Wisconsin. Same type of chemistry, got into business development along with a few other related issues. Worked on some drugs that are actually on the market now. And then saw the opportunity at Concordia, and I teach organic chemistry largely. I also teach a couple classes in the MPD program, and along with Savannah, we will meet in a moment, help direct the program and to answer everybody's questions.
Thank you, Scott. And we also have Savannah Saldana Shoemaker. Savannah, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name's Savannah. I'm the program coordinator for the program, and I'm actually a graduate of the program. Dr. Van Ornum actually recruited me while I was an undergrad student at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. Came to the program. I finished about a year ago. And like I said, now I'm working as the program coordinator. And then I also still do research. So while I was in the program, I worked for one of the professors doing all of his projects and different reactions, very much that drug discovery aspect. And then we got some grant funding, so I was able to stay on with him as a research assistant. So I split my time between the lab and the program.
Wonderful, hands-on experience. And then my name is Kelsey Marquardt. I'm the International Admissions and Retention Coordinator here at Concordia University, Wisconsin. So if you have application questions, admissions questions, those are for me right here. All right, so thank you guys. Then the MPD agenda. So today we're gonna do an overview of Concordia University, Wisconsin. As for those of you who may be around the world, you may be able to start your program in the MPD field online, but then finish your degree on campus. So we're going to talk about what campus looks like, what are the highlights, and then we're going to move into the updated applications process that has been affected due to COVID-19. We want to be as flexible as possible for things that aren't outside of your control. Then we're going to do the MPD overview and concentrations, so you'll get to know the program itself. And then Savannah will talk about the student experience. As you heard, she is a recent graduate. And lastly, we'll go into the Q&A section. All right, so like I said before, you are able to start online and finish on campus. So no matter what the fall brings, if we're able to start on campus, that's wonderful, and we would be glad to have you. We are still issuing I-20s for the fall term, just in case we can get everybody here on time. But if things don't open up, or if visa interviews have become so overwhelmed you're not able to get in on time, that is okay. We will defer your I-20 for free to the spring semester. So you have no fear of knocking your timeline of education off balance due to COVID-19. So getting started, where is campus? So we are located in Wisconsin, which is in the central part of the United States. You can see us highlighted there in the top. We're the blue state. We are 20 minutes north of Milwaukee, which is the largest city in Wisconsin. And that's also 90 minutes north of Chicago. So Milwaukee, which is the larger city closest to us, Milwaukee is home to 1.5 million people, so it's quite a sizable city. It's also extremely diverse. There is a lot going on for art and culture. We have 3 national sports teams that we can't wait for them to start playing again once things come back to normal a little bit. But just, we have close proximity to 2 large cities. So our students here get a lot of access to things that they normally wouldn't if they were in a more rural area. So that also means then that they have access to 2 large international airports. Again, once things open up, that will be more popular for people. But as of right now, things are a little slow. Campus also means that we have a lot of international students. We have 400 plus international students from 37 different countries. So we have a wide variety of international students on our campus. Our campus is also located on the shores of Lake Michigan, and it's all connected by tunnels. So you may know Wisconsin gets a little colder during the winter months, but when you're on campus, you don't feel it a bit. We are still acting like it's no snow on the ground. So you're able to never put a jacket on when you're on campus. We also make full advantage of being on the shores of Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan, if you aren't aware, is one of the Great Lakes, which means it's so big you can't see the other side of the shoreline. So it's like we have a little mini ocean here in the Midwest. But we make full advantage by using the walking paths down to Lake Michigan. And the Bluffs Beach, which is right on campus, is very popular during the summertime. So for our student enrollment, we have about an equal number of undergraduates to graduate and professional students, which means that there's a great variety and diversity amongst students. So we have undergraduate students are able to interact with graduate students. They get to know what that's like, and it's a great benefit for our university. We also have the 4th highest international student population in the state of Wisconsin. For a school our size, that means quite a bit. That means that international students really like coming to the Concordia University Wisconsin, because we make sure that they have support through all steps of their education. From the actual admissions process, we hold your hand through that whole thing, and then we also make sure that you have support when you're during your academic program, and then when it comes to actually finding that job. We're there for you for the whole thing. We are also a D3 NCAA school, which means we have lots of sports happening. So there's a way for you to have a school spirit while you're here. We currently have 32 varsity level athletics, which is a lot for a school our size. Concordia University is a Christian campus, which means it's private, but you do not have to be a Christian student to actually come to campus. That is just our identity. Our identity also means that we have strong morals and very strong ethics. We value safety above all. We recently were voted very high in the rankings for safety. If you'd like more information on that, I'd be happy to share it with you. But we also then have Christian morals in the classroom as well. So ethics definitely take a strong place in our identity. We also have a fitness center on campus. This is the weight section. We also have an aerobic section. So you could do the treadmills and things like that, so you can be healthy while you're on campus. We also have 2 comfort dogs on campus. Their names are Zoe and Sage, and you can see them walking around during the daytime. They become very popular during the stressful finals time. We have 4 dining areas on campus. The main dining hall there offers vegetarian dishes every day. And so it's not just the salad bar, although we do have that open every day, but they have a vegetarian dish section that gets updated every day, so you don't get bored. We have 8 different residence halls on campus, and they have many different rooming styles. So we have singles, doubles, triples, quads, and many of them have really great views of that Lake Michigan shorefront, which I showed you earlier. We also have the WIT ice skating rink. It's a magical place during the evening with all of those beautiful lights. It's a great way to enjoy the winter wonderland outside. We have a new smart classroom, which is meant to help students control their stress levels. And that's done by watching some videos of how to control your breathing during that stressful time. We also have massage chairs, which are very popular. But that doesn't mean that you spend all of your days on campus. And for students who live off campus, there's so much going on between Milwaukee and Chicago that we do a lot of field trips to make sure you can actually enjoy that time. So you can see the Chicago Lean, the Milwaukee Public Museum, some more ice skating. So we make sure that you get the full Wisconsin and Midwest experience. And then we have events happening on campus as well, specifically for international students. We have times where we celebrate like Independence Days or Lunar New Year, for instance, was a big one we did last semester. We also have International Education Week, which is a week completely dedicated to showcasing and celebrating our international students. So we work with international students to put on a small event that may take like about an hour, where they talk about their culture, and we help them purchase food that is native to their country, and it's a great time. We end the week with the International Food Fair, which is more students than I've ever seen on campus at one time, where we have students bring a dish or cook a dish from their home country and share that with other people. It's a great, great time. During this COVID-19 pandemic, our team has been working overtime to make sure our international students, both on and off campus, are being supported. So we have about 100 students left on campus who are either unable or choose to stay on campus for many reasons. For those students, we have to-go crafts that they can take back to their room so they don't have to interact very closely with other people. We also, there in the bottom left, you can see the weekly snack bags we do for each student. We also have things like laundry soap and personal hygiene things that we pre-package so that, again, there's socially distancing happening. For students living on and off campus, we have the Quarantine Challenge, which is a way for students to do an activity such as go for a walk and take a picture, and then earn points, which they can then redeem for gift cards. So it's a great way for them to support their local businesses without having to spend money themselves. We also have a campus security station, which is making sure that the students living on campus are as safe as possible. So what do you need to actually apply to the MPD program? For our graduate students, we have an online application, which if you use code USACUW, that will waive the application fee. We also require transcripts and diplomas from all post-secondary education. Now, previously to COVID-19, we had asked students to mail those documents to us. We needed the actual original documents before we could go through the admissions process. Now we know that mail is unreliable, and we also know that your university or your institution where you would need to get those transcripts from may not have the ability to give them to you or mail them themselves. So currently we are asking for emailed scanned copies of your transcripts, so those grades you took at all undergraduate education places. We would just require the officials prior to enrollment. So for the admissions process itself, an emailed scan will be just fine to get that admissions letter, but during orientation or previously to you actually enrolling in classes, we would ask for those officials. For language scores, we do require the IELTS, TOEFL, or PTE. We do know though that those testing places are not open in your home country, perhaps. So we've been more flexible. We are now accepting Duolingo, and that is an online test you can do at home. It costs about $49 and takes only about an hour to complete. So we've heard some great things from students already about taking that test, that it's very easy to take, it's very user-friendly. We know TOEFL has also just introduced an at-home test. We will accept that as well. And before I get too further, I do want to note that you can see the GPAs on there. For full admission, so with just jumping right into courses, we would require at least a 3.0, but don't panic if you don't have that GPA. That GPA, if you were to have a little lower GPA, we could do a conditional admission, which would require you to reach a certain level of grade in your first semester of classes in order to progress. So we're not saying you're completely out of going into the MPD program if you don't reach that 3.0 GPA. Same thing for the English scores. If you don't immediately reach those English scores, which you can see there, don't panic. We have ESL classes that you would be able to take prior to going into your academic courses. We just want to make sure that your English is at a place where you can be successful in the MPD program. Because it's a graduate level program, it's difficult. We want to make sure English is not one of those barriers for you. So in addition to transcripts, the application, the English scores, we do require a resume or a CV to see your work experience, 2 letters of recommendation that can be from past professors or from past or current employers, and then a statement of purpose. The statement of purpose is a letter saying why you want to study the MPD program. Also, just as a side note, we do not require the GRE or the GMAT for admission. So prerequisites here. I'm going to turn this over to my lovely counterparts to talk about those prerequisites.
Sure. So what we have is largely, as Kelsey was indicating, we largely look at your broad application. For the most part, we want to have a strong organic chemistry background. So that's one of the primary courses that we look at as far as how you did in that. Ideally, analytical chemistry as well, a semester of analytical chemistry. And then in general, biochem, chemistry, pharmacology, biology degree, although we do consider possibly other degrees. Pharmaceutical science is a popular one that we often have students that have background in. But as long as we have the strong organic chemistry, analytical chemistry, and instrumental analysis is a course that you can take on campus here. So the bottom line is we want to make sure that you have the necessary background to be successful in the program. Along with all those other things that Kelsey mentioned as far as the application, we would do a formal interview, half-hour Zoom interview perhaps, just to understand a little bit more of your interest in the program and any questions we might have. So that's largely our driver for accepting students. Conditionally, as Kelsey mentioned, that's something that we can as well look at. If I feel a student might need a full year of organic chemistry, it's a possibility that you might have to take undergraduate classes, but you could still take MPD classes at the same time. Now that might delay finishing the program in the typical 2 years, but we look at each case and work on a flexible basis. And as far as the food and beverage, another prerequisite is a simple undergraduate degree in a science or business, and we can kind of look at those things as well.
Definitely. And I do want to note here, you would be doing classes in our 2 newest buildings as well. So the Batterman School of Business and also the School of Pharmacy are brand new buildings. So they're absolutely gorgeous. A great way to spend your time. All right, MPD program overview.
Okay, I guess I'm on here.
Yes, that is you.
So, yep, correct. So let's see. So the program was started right around 2014, just to give you a brief history of how it came to fruition. We sort of realized that there was a lot of faculty that either had some industry experience, such as myself and a few others, or other tangible types of experiences that we could train our students to get the practical application of what it might take to get a job in industry fairly quickly. But we wanted at the same time to have a business and science blend to the program. So while it's a total of 48 credits, about a third of those are strictly MBA classes. Now you don't need any business background to take those classes, but most of the classes, of course, are going to be science orientated and are going to involve the research requirement of 1.5 years of novel research on a project that you hopefully are interested in. You can pick a particular mentor or professor to work with over that 1.5 years or 2 years, get the practical experience, use all of our instrumentation. If it's a laboratory type project, then you get to essentially make organic compounds. You could make compounds and then send them out for testing perhaps. One of our professors is a medicinal chemist, or he's working on opioid. Savannah can speak to more of her research because she's working for that particular professor, but he's looking to try to solve issues with pain and making compounds and then having them tested by a collaborator. So we have a lot of interesting opportunities that we can work on. Maybe there's a new product that you're interested in or a new technique of some sort. We are very flexible and we have a wide range of professors that have these unique experiences to help supplement your program. As the second bullet says, we really can have a student start anytime, fall, spring. We basically get the application. We then, like I said, have an interview with you, and we can accept students literally year round. And then we just figure out what is the best time to start. Now, normally for MPD classes, it's a fall and spring start date, but MBA classes can be taken anytime. Okay. So there's very, very flexibility there. 2 years is the minimum. I would say on the average of all of our graduates and current students, probably 2.5 has been, say, the average. The courses are STEM eligible, and there could be at the end there potential opportunities, I guess, for working. Kelsey, is that one of those things that we have, if we have opportunities, students can be eligible for CPT or OPT?
Yes, we do have post-completion CPT and OPT available.
Okay. So whether you're working with a professor at Concordia, or possibly if things work out, there could be an industry mentor as well. It definitely offers itself to a wide variety of experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And the core courses we have, so there's 3 tracks, or concentrations as they're now called. The pharmaceutical and chemical are very complementary. There's only a few classes that are different in between the 2 concentrations, but they all largely involve core courses, and then what we call STEM courses, followed up by specific concentration courses, and then however many credits might be needed to get to the 48, then you could take elective courses. Something you're interested in, potentially courses that could complement what you're doing. The difference between the pharmaceutical and the chemical largely is the pharmaceutical will have courses such as pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, formulations, and more on maybe the tail end of the drug delivery process. The chemical, largely our students there are doing organic synthesis problems, working along with myself and another professor or two, doing actual organic chemistry reactions, purifying the compound, doing structure elucidation, making sure it is what it is, and then taking it perhaps on to the next step. In conjunction, you're able to use a lot of our instrumentation to help solve those chemical issues. But the 2 concentrations are very complementary, but the uniqueness of those are just the pharmaceutical is more the tail end. The chemical would be the intermediate or the organic synthesis side. And then the food and beverage, we have as well the 3 parameters, the core courses, the concentration courses, and elective courses. Those are going to be largely housed in our School of Business and allow for potentially interest in the culinary area, along with other potential opportunities there.
All right, so now MPD concentrations, we're going to dig into what those are even more. So Scott, starting with pharmaceutical.
Sure. There, I would say most of our students have done potential research projects along the lines of formulations. A couple have done some organic synthesis in conjunction with formulations. They're able to, as I said, in the middle there is drug development would be on the top end. Now we're going to come up with a problem that's doable. I mean, the drug development process, as you'll learn in our degree, is quite a lengthy process, as you're probably well aware of. And especially, you've heard a lot about it, certainly in the current events with the news and potentially therapies to get us through this coronavirus, but it's a very timely issue. So you'll be able to learn the drug development process, but you largely work on maybe a specific area or a narrow focus rather than the whole drug development. But you'll understand the whole process, but you'll focus your research on a very narrow part. Preclinical readiness, we have that as being a facet to, again, understand the whole drug development process, how a drug could be made and what then all entails to take it to fruition. And lastly, what we have is state-of-the-art labs that allows you to, as I was saying earlier, to use our nuclear magnetic resonance instruments. We have infrared analysis, high pressure liquid chromatography. We really have all the tools and instruments that are necessary for you to be extremely skilled and then walk into a job and be able to have an edge, we hope, for you to get a job.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And Savannah was telling me earlier that getting out of this program, students have been really employable.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right, so here's the actual overview of the MPD courses. You can see the courses that you'll be taking through the curriculum. Savannah, would you talk more about that?
Yeah, so as Kelsey and Dr. Van Ornum have both mentioned, the core courses consist of MBA courses for the most part, and you can take those anytime. So let's say you're an international student and you're not able to get here right away. You could actually kind of work your way through those business courses online. That way you're not waiting to start your classes. This is really unique also for a science-based program, because a lot of students graduate and they have those lab skills, those really technical skills, but they don't have the business skills. So when you put both of them together, that makes you really employable and very competitive. As you can see, there's a variety of classes ranging from sustainability to new venture formation and business development. So you learn kind of all implications of what a career in science could have melded with business. At the bottom, you can also see we have an industry leader seminar series. This is really important in terms of networking. This is how a lot of our students get jobs after graduation. We have a lot of great connections through our professors, so we're able to get big name industry leaders to come meet with our students. You have a chance to talk one-on-one after the seminars and kind of get to know local and national industry leaders. Then for the pharmaceutical track, we have STEM courses that overlap with the chemical track as well. So this includes pharmaceutical manufacturing and process chemistry, which is really unique to Concordia. This is how do we do reactions at the bench, but then translate it into large scale for manufacturing. And we're pretty much the only program that offers this. And it's really, really unique and a very important skill that not a lot of people have until they get into industry. We also have drug development. So you learn, again, kind of about the different steps and different ways you can plug your STEM skills into the drug discovery and development pipeline. And then we also offer instrumental analysis, like Dr. Van Ornum was saying. If you didn't have that class coming in, really strong instrumentation skills, you can take that at the start of the program. And that's actually what I did when I came. I was a chemistry minor, so I had pretty much every chemistry class except for a few, including instrumental analysis. So I was able to start with that before going into the other courses. That way I was able to use all the equipment efficiently. And you do have that option if needed. For the pharmaceutical concentration, your specific courses overlap heavily with our PharmD students. So you're going to be in our School of Pharmacy building, and you're learning about the implications of drugs in the body. So pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, and then another unique class is our formulation and delivery forms. We get to learn how to take those active compounds, those potentially new drug ingredients, and make them into, is it a pill, is it a syrup? How do we actually get that into the body so that it can move into clinical trials? So again, you're more at the tail end of the discovery process.
Fascinating, thank you. Especially timely during this time of pandemic, where top of mind on everybody's mind is medicine.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to chemical. Scott, would you mind talking just a little bit about the overview again?
Sure. Chemical's a little bit different than the pharmaceutical aspect. In addition to a lot of the courses that Savannah just mentioned, the chemical concentration would have my advanced organic chemistry course. There I talk about more synthesis. I also have a little bit of blend of the process chemistry to give my undergraduates an added feature of process chemistry. There are MPD students that take my advanced organic class as well, but it is considered an undergraduate and a graduate class. The MPD students just do an extra assignment to make it a graduate course, but that is one of the key components of the chemical is the organic synthesis. There's also an NMR analytical class that would also be in the chemical concentration that allows for more structure elucidation. We do stability studies as part of that class as well. And at the same time, we want you to be able to use these instruments in order to give you that creative edge as far as walking in the door at a future employer and jumping right in. So that's largely the difference between the chemical and pharma, is that you're doing more of the synthesis or chemistry side of things, opposed to the formulation sides and the pharmaceutical side.
Definitely. Great, thank you. All right, MPD chemical overview. So like we talked before, there's a lot of overlap between the core and STEM courses between the pharmaceutical and chemical. So Savannah, can you talk a little bit more about how they differentiate with those concentration courses?
Yep, so the chemical track, like Dr. Van Orden was saying, is definitely much more of the chemical synthesis based. A lot of the thesis projects are very much method development based. So how do we take a reaction, optimize it so it's reproducible so that we can get our drug material made in large batches to move on to what would be more of interest in the pharmaceutical track, that formulations aspect. Again, you work heavily with our instruments. We have a lot of state-of-the-art instruments on campus, which we have some pictures of a little bit later. And so again, it's much more of that technical in the lab reactions and instrumentation.
Wonderful, thank you so much. All right, lastly, our last concentration, but certainly not least, we have our new food and beverage concentration. Dr. Orno, can you talk a little bit more?
Yeah, this is a new concentration that has been around for a couple of years now. I believe there's about 5 courses that we offer as far as the concentration is concerned. Is that correct, Savannah? I think we have about 5 courses. Mm-hmm. Can range from anything from some of the regulatory aspects of it and marketing, along with potentially type of lab work per se of food and beverage. We have a new culinary lab facility in our new business building that allows for students to perhaps look into those areas of research or development of potential products or foods and things like that. So we're blessed to have those facilities, and it's a newer program, so we're getting a lot of outreach right now.
Great. And then that thesis project, working with a corporate partner, that's fascinating. So that, again, is giving them those networking connections.
Sure, I can elaborate on that a little too as well, Kelsey. Now, the ideal situation would be having a student work with somebody in industry or a corporate partner, as it mentions there. And that is a function, of course, nowadays with this whole COVID thing, that's very challenging, I would expect. But at the same time, if we can have a student work with a potential partner or an industry mentor, that's great experience. A few instances we've had that those students have had those opportunities. For instance, one student did research down at the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's Office, as a matter of fact. Now, this is outside the food and beverage. I'm talking in general about the MPD research projects. But he did his entire master research down there and was able to work with the forensic chemists there, along with physicians and doctors and pathologists, and that was a unique experience for him. Another student worked at a chemical company / pharma company in Germantown, which is about 20 minutes from campus. He did project management throughout his whole industry experience, and eventually they hired him on as a full-time employee. So a couple other students are doing similar type of things at their place of employment, and it's great that if they can be doing a project where they work, that's even better. That way we can have a faculty mentor and an industry mentor, and that helps them eventually realize their goals.
Definitely, thank you. All right, so the food and beverage concentration varies a little bit more. Savannah, would you dig into that?
Yep. So the core courses are the same as the chemical and pharmaceutical track. You have all of your MBA classes, your regulations, new venture formation, all of that's the same. You still have an industry leader seminar series and a thesis project that you will work on. The concentration courses are the difference. And as you can see, there's not STEM courses because, again, this isn't so much chemistry and lab-based in terms of what it would be with drugs. So the concentration courses include, you learn how to do a launch project. So come up with an idea. How are you going to make that business plan and see it to fruition? We also learn about strategic package design. So how are you going to make this new product stand out? What does the consumer eye look for? We also have sales and category management, consumer insights, and strategic marketing. So all of those things that you need to be successful with launching a new food product. So something also to point out is you're not expected to come in and be like a top chef for this program. This is much more about what is the research and development process for a new food product. We do have our new culinary lab, and it's attached to a sensory lab. So you really learn how to create a focus group. If you come up with this new product, what are the proper steps to go through to see, is the customer gonna like it? You know, is it too salty? Is it too sweet? What does the color look like? And we also work very closely with some of those big industry names. So we work very closely with Sargento Cheese. They actually kind of helped develop this concentration of the MPD program. And we also work very closely with Food and Beverage Wisconsin. So you're able to meet with people regularly, have opportunities for those industry partners for your project, and potentially get your foot in the door for employment after graduation.
Great. Yeah, the sensory lab, that sounds like every movie I've seen where they're like, is the sugary cereal going to be too sugary? That sounds very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now moving on to the student experience. So again, this is going to be Savannah chatting about how she found the program and her journey through it.
Yeah, so as I was saying, Dr. Van Ornum came to my undergraduate advanced organic chemistry class, and he told us about this program, and it was completely new to me because I had never even heard about what is the chemical or pharmaceutical industry. I just knew that I really enjoyed chemistry, but I thought I wanted to maybe go into healthcare, because I think a lot of times when you're taking your science courses, you kind of only think, I'm either going to become a professor or go for a professional degree. You don't really know where you're going to go from there. So learning about the opportunity to continue my interest in chemistry, but in a different way that I'd never heard of before, that was kind of what drew me in.
Mm-hmm.
Then learning about the campus was another pull. So like Kelsey was saying, it's a very, very, very safe place. So that was a big bonus for me. One thing that I really liked is that we're right by the big cities. There's a lot of things to do, but the campus is its own space. So it's not in a downtown space with street parking. There's parking lots. So getting to and from class is easy, especially as someone who lives off campus. That's a consideration in the winter. All the buildings are connected by tunnels, so that's nice. And just the facilities themselves, we have a lot of different equipment. So for example, in kind of our main pharmacy lab alone, we have 3 HPLCs that are really, really new, and it's mostly just for the MPD students. So unlike maybe you're used to in an undergraduate class where you're sharing with 50 students in a lab, some students can be running their projects for days at a time on one of our 3 HPLCs that's just for graduate students. We have a 500 megahertz NMR. That was really unique. I'd only ever used a 60 megahertz NMR. And again, it's pretty much just for a graduate student. Some other people might pop in and out, but you're able to access it without having to schedule yourself out days at a time. So you're able to get your research done efficiently because all of that equipment's available to you. I also really liked that the professors had industry experience. So they were able to teach and be great professors, but they'd also been out working for those big companies and could kind of tell us what it was like and get us set up for success.
Yeah, really an individual experience.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. So next we have the 2-liter jacketed reactor, which I'm so excited to learn more about.
Sure,
Yeah,
I can
so
explain that. Or go ahead, Savannah. I think that's on your end. Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So this is really unique. This is in kind of Dr. Van Ornum's lab space. We use this for the process chemistry class. So again, you're learning how to take things from, a small round bottom flask and how would we make that on a really huge scale to manufacture it in potentially a big company. So you're able to control the temperature, how fast it's stirring. And it's really unique that we have this given how small our campus is. One of our graduates, she works in a really well-known top 10 pharmaceutical company, and she's in formulations, and they don't even have something like this to work with, whereas we do. This person, they were working on something and they needed to cool it down, and it wasn't jacketed, it was basically just a big reactor. And so they had a picture of all these people holding ice packs up to it for hours at a time to control the temperature, whereas we have the state-of-the-art equipment. Again, it's pretty much just for our MPD students and the advanced organic chemistry students. So to have something like this at your fingertips is really, really unique, especially considering how small and individualized our class sizes are.
Yeah, that's definitely a theme I'm noticing is the best equipment and the best amount of time you get with it, and then the best hands-on training for it. That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now a tablet press.
Yep.
Can you tell me more?
Yeah, so this would be, again, more so if you're looking to go in the pharmaceutical concentration, you're wanting to know about formulations. So someone made that primary ingredient. Now, how are we going to get that into the body, potentially in a clinical trial? So in this course, we bring in someone from industry and they give you kind of like a crash course in how do you make a tablet? How do you put something into a potentially usable product? So students are able to actually create their own pill in the class and learn how to perfect that technique.
That's amazing. So they actually get to see it from the whole process, from start to finish.
Yep, from creating it, stirring it up in that reactor, to then putting it into its potentially final formulation.
That's amazing. All right, and would you talk more about that individual training? We've already touched on it, but how has that affected you?
Yeah, so when I started, it was really exciting because I was kind of, again, expecting to go into a graduate program and not really see my thesis director, my primary investigator. And the first week or two that I was in the lab, he was with me the whole time, making sure I did everything correctly, that I knew how to use all of the equipment. And moving forward, pretty much anytime I needed to work on something, someone was there to help me and really train you and make sure that you're doing it correct. And kind of on the flip side, as a student, if you really master a certain instrument or a certain technique, you have the opportunity to work with other students, either other graduate students or undergrads, and get that teaching experience a bit as well.
Definitely. Okay. So how does Concordia help with job placement? So, oh, I'm sorry, I went too fast, I went too far. So industry leader seminar, that's the big one.
Yeah, so this is really exciting. We are able to get a lot of, a variety of speakers in to talk about career paths in the food and beverage, chemical or pharmaceutical industries. We have a picture right here of Dr. James Cook. If you're a chemistry student, you probably know who that is, of the Weiss-Cook reaction. He is from UW-Milwaukee, which is 20 minutes away from campus. So you're able to meet people that you might not meet elsewhere. As you can see, as some of our recent speakers, this is just in the last semester or two, we have a really good variety of people come in. We have someone who works for Quest Diagnostics, she came in. And then on the flip side, we have someone who was a clinical research associate. And so you can pretty much see all types of areas that your skills might allow you to go into a career path. Two of the speakers on our list, Jenna and Morgan, they're actually graduates of the MPD program. So Jenna is that senior clinical research associate. She's worked on clinical trials that have actually gone to market. And then Morgan, she oversees a whole bunch of lab spaces at another university and is in very much that management type of position. So our students and our graduates are considered among industry leaders, such as the ones listed here.
That's wonderful. Thank you. So those people have great jobs. How do we help you get those great jobs? We've already talked about the Industry Leader Seminar. That's a great way to do networking. Also, during your time in your education, you have opportunities to interact with those leaders in the private sector. But we also have that Career Services Center located directly on campus. So they will help you with all steps of that. That means the application prep of getting all of your documents in order. They'll help you review them, make sure all spelling is good. Help you also practice interviewing, which can be nerve-wracking for some people, definitely. And then doing the actual job search as well. So helping you find and do those search parameters of what is going to fit your application to the job and how you can fit your application to the job. And they can help with the actual job or the internship as well. And they do things like the alumni networking event as well. So we'll have those things that are specific to the MPD program, but then there will be a larger, more general place for you to interact with people. Okay. For specifically international students who have graduated from this program, Savannah, can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so these are three of our international students. As you can see, each of their stories kind of represents a different direction you can go as a graduate of our program that was an international student. So for example, Manisha, she was from India. She now works for Merck in Pennsylvania. So she works in the United States in industry. Then in the middle, we have Waleed. He's from Sudan, and he is now getting his PhD at the University of Kansas. So again, he's deciding to get more education within the United States. And then all the way on the right, we have Lucky. She's working for Pfizer in Shanghai. So she graduated from the program, has a job in industry back in her home country. So whether you're wanting to get a job somewhere else from where you're from, or take those skills and go back to your home, or you're wanting to pursue more education, we're able to help you have the resources to follow each of those tracks after graduation.
Great, thank you. And then here is just a list of other places graduates of the MPD program are currently working at. So it's quite a variety, and Sargento Cheese, I noted, is one that we developed the food and beverage company with, or the food and beverage program with. So right there, they know exactly what they're getting from a graduate of that program. And it's exactly who they want, right? As they are the ones who helped develop the program. If you have other questions about this, Savannah, did you have anything you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I would just like to point out that everyone that has gone through our program does have a job. So there's no one that like wasn't employable or wasn't able to find a good fit for them. Everybody is working somewhere in a really strong position. A lot of our graduates are able to sort of bypass those entry-level positions into more senior positions or more advanced laboratory positions. And as I'm sure you guys recognize, a lot of these companies are really big name companies, and our students fit right in, and they're able to move up through the ranks at these companies.
Yeah, you don't have to do that entry position. That's great. In fact, you'd probably be coming in with all of that actual hands-on experience with those machines.
Yeah, that is something that makes our students very competitive. Several of our recent graduates were employed simply because of their HPLC experience. Not a lot of people come in with really, really strong method development on that instrument, whereas a lot of our students, more and more so, are choosing to focus on that as a big part of their thesis, because it is one thing that's in like so many job applications and job descriptions. They want someone who is proficient in HPLC method development, for example, and you'll be ready to go through our program.
Yeah, check. All right. So MPD, you guys have some social pages. You want to shout them out?
Yes, we're on both Instagram and Facebook. So we definitely like to highlight research that our students or our faculty are doing, kind of show off some of the equipment. So I would definitely head over to those pages and check out what we have. There's a lot of stuff on there.
Great, thank you. And now we get to the Q&A portion of this webinar. So first, I want to point out that we have the contact information there for the International Admissions Office. So if you have questions and you want about the actual application process, feel free to give us a shout. We'd be happy to help with that. We're also on WhatsApp now. So if you're like everybody else here, we get a lot of emails generally, but now even more so. So if you want to have some separation of just another line of communication that isn't email, WhatsApp is definitely where it's at. You can see there we have the Apply Now link. That is where you can go with that USA CUW code to waive the application fee.